o'clock, so let's get going. It's 3 o'clock on Monday, September 9th, 2019, so we will get the Human Rights Commission meeting of the City of Palm Springs underway. First off, mission statement. Who'd like to share the mission statement with us?
I'll do it. My last day.
Yours one's on.
Yes. City of Palm Springs mission statement. Palm Springs is an inclusive world city dedicated to providing excellent and responsive public service to enhance the quality of life for current and future generations. Thank you.
That's good. Somebody would like to read the other mission statement for us? Terry? We have so many.
We have some. The mission of the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission is to promote and protect the diversity of our community and to improve human relations through education and community awareness.
Excellent. And Jay, do we have a quorum?
Shall I call roll?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yes. Commissioner Andrade? Commissioner Chandrasena?
Present.
Commissioner Chappelle?
Here.
Commissioner Flood?
Here.
Commissioner Gross?
Present.
Commissioner Morgan?
Present.
Commissioner Randolph?
Present.
And Chair DeHart.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Beautiful. And there's no public comment?
Ladies and gentlemen, is there any public comment? We have cards to fill out, or just come on up front and we'll handle it that way.
Okay, so any person, you do have public comment?
Thank you.
Oh, he's good, okay. So any person who wishes to speak on a topic within the city's jurisdiction during this portion of the agenda must file a speaker card with the staff liaison before this portion of the agenda is called. 3 minutes per speaker is allotted. Although the commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Commissioners will not enter into discussion with speakers, but during the commission comments may refer the matter to staff for report and recommendation at a future commission meeting. And it looks like we have
We
one
have at
person.
least one, sir. Would you like to?
Yes. There you
I've
go.
asked the commissioner to read it for me in deference to my speaking impairment. My comment.
Sure, thank you. Can we get your name?
Okay.
Mr. Iron Ike Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenberg.
This is addressed to Palm Springs Human Rights Commission on September 9, 2019, by Mr. Iron Ike Rosenberg. An ongoing and blatant violation of human rights is occurring here in our city for what is now over 14 years, evidenced by such words and observations perceived as find it, microchipping, Depakote, abundant auditory disturbances, excessive talk, and electricity overuse. Hardly an hour can pass without my seeing someone wielding a handheld device, powered machine, or driving in an illegally equipped vehicle on the street while simultaneously participating in what has become a veritable 21st century circus bordering on organized bedlam. For me personally, the activity hits hardest as an overt violation of the U.S. Constitution, Fourth Amendment, people's right to protection against unreasonable searches and seizures of our persons, houses, papers, and effects, and 2, the Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Being taciturn by nature, each day my attempt to go without speaking in the interest of the common good is thwarted by this wave of improper actions. My comment today, in what is my 9th or 10th appearance before this important commission, is directed towards each individual living in or visiting the city of Palm Springs. Simply said, I strongly urge you to dig deep within yourselves and to into your own personal strength by refusing to participate in this widespread wrongdoing, just as the Golden Rule asks you to do unto others as you would have them do unto you, so too you should be cognizant of the fact that as you think, believe, say, and act toward the world today, the quick arriving tomorrow can certainly find you. In the other person's shoes, as Mother Nature and the way it's always seems to prevail in all such important matters, to use the dreaded should be avoided word, not I, say, blame not, aim not, judge not, and violate not for the soul that suffers, last suffers most, and as many are learning tomorrow if it could be yours. Thank you, HRC, for this opportunity to comment today.
Thank you, sir.
Any other speakers? And if you want to use the microphone over there.
Just hit the button.
Hi, I'm Eileen Stern, and I believe you have on your agenda today a resolution that I had initiated and was passed by the California Democratic National Party. And it is a resolution for standing against hate speech and protecting vulnerable communities. The reason I initiated this, besides it being very timely, was I had been asked to make a presentation about the rise of hate against Jews at a recent seminar. And one of the things I found was that, according to the Anti-Defamation League, there had been a 57% increase in hate crimes against Jews since the election of Donald Trump. And the FBI number was 37%. And at that same panel, there was Lisa Middleton talking about hate crimes against the gay community, and Grace Garner speaking about hate crimes against the Latino community. And interestingly enough, our research all showed the same kind of discrepancy between groups and the FBI. And the reason is the FBI is not allowed to count hate speech as a hate crime due to First Amendment laws. So this this resolution, which I'm asking you to consider passing so that it can then go to the City Council, and hopefully we can get this moving to become reality, is that whereas, according to FBI statistics, there's been a sharp increase in reported hate crimes in the last 2 years, and hate speech has been an early indicator of intended violence. And whereas the mass shootings at the Tree of Life Synagogue and most recently, and I've just updated this, El Paso, are glaring examples how hate speech is used to incite violence. Shooters started by participating in online hate speech on platforms dedicated to the dehumanization of others. And it goes on to talk about Louisiana and churches, but they were all signaled on social media. Whereas our constitutional rights to free speech make it difficult to prevent incitements to persecution and violence, we must protect the lives and liberty of those targeted by hate speech. Law enforcement should understand the connections between hate speech and violence, and they should monitor and track such hateful activities both in public and online. Therefore, be it resolved that the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission stands firmly against hate speech and calls upon law enforcement to monitor and track all forms of hate speech and to protect vulnerable citizens from acts of persecution and violence. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be presented for approval to the Palm Springs City Council for passage and implementation as feasible.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Do you want a copy of this?
We have it in our packet.
Okay, I don't know if I know Jeff was presenting it on my behalf, but I took the liberty to change it just for Palm Springs if he didn't do that
Oh,
already.
yeah, so I think you do have updated copies, so why don't we get a copy of
Yeah,
that
I
one?
put Palm Springs in here versus it being more general.
Yeah,
for
okay.
this one.
All right, very good. And just so the rest of the commissioners know, I did not intentionally or on purpose give more time. I was assuming Eileen was presenting on behalf of Jeff.
Yeah,
And
because he's not here.
and because he's not here. So it was a 10-minute presentation, and that's why I allowed it to go beyond the 3 minutes. Okay, thank you. Any other public comments today? All right, wonderful. So we're moving right on, and our first guest speakers, we have from the LGBT Community Center. Please come forward and introduce yourselves. And we've got a 10-minute presentation from the LGBT Community Center to share with us
Whoa. Okay.
the core programming that comes from the center specifically for the trans community, the transgender community.
Am I on?
Yep, you're
Am I
good,
on?
go.
Oh, green, gotcha. Hi, I'm Candace Nichols, and I'm the Director of Programs at the LGBT Community Center of the Desert. And I'm here today with Dr. Jill Hingston, who has a new title, so I'll let her say it.
I'm the new clinical internship director in the Scott Hines Mental Health Clinic at the center.
And we're here today, I'm sure you're very aware that we have probably over 45 programs and services that we provide to the community, the LGBT community and the community at large on a weekly and daily basis. But today we're here to talk specifically to give you an awareness of what we actually do have as far as programs and services for the transgender community. We have been working with the transgender community even before I arrived 5 years ago. I think Dr. Hingston has been running a group for
5 years, 5.5 years.
5.5 years on a weekly basis. And in the last 2 years, we've expanded our transgender programming to Trans Tuesdays. So every Tuesday of the week, there is something going on at the LGBT Center for trans folks. And I'll kind of break that down. The first Tuesday of every month, we have groups divide up into male to female, female to male, and significant others, friends, family, and allies. So those are in small groups. So it really gives an opportunity for not only each group to work together about issues that they might have. I find the most significant group and the one I like the best is the SOFA group, which is the friends and families, because you really do see parents and grandparents and other folks coming that are supportive of their transgender relatives and friends. And so on the second one, Dr. Hingston has a therapeutic group for everyone. Did you know?
Yep, that's a big group. That's basically when I started running the group several years ago is how it started. I think we started with 5 people came to our first group, and then a couple years later, it was up to 30, and it used to be once a month. And so it was just almost too big to allow people, especially with social anxiety, to be able to contribute because they just didn't feel comfortable. And so we came up with a solution of doing it every week and having different kinds of groups.
And on our third Thursday, we have Trans 2.0. And that's our opportunity to bring in guest speakers that have a variety of topics. We have, I work with Brett Klein from Eisenhower, so we do some health panels for that day, but also just individual issues, body dysmorphia, gender and body dysmorphia. Sometimes it's just about electrolysis. It depends, dress for success, and we do some resume building and that kind of thing. So it's just a variety of topics to just give a lot more information out there, and we have that planned out for the whole year. And then on the very last Thursday of every month, we call it Trans Lounge, and it's an opportunity to just play games, have pizza, snacks, and just hang out. We average probably, I would say, between 20 and 30. It all depends on the day of the week. As everything else in the summer, we're a bit thin. But as the season starts, we will be building in more and more folks, so those numbers do grow. But I also, besides Trans Tuesdays, really wanted Dr. Hingston to be here to talk about the program in the Scott Hines Mental Health Center at the center, so that you're really aware of what we are doing, not only in the community, but for the community.
Okay. In the clinic, what we do, it's an internship program. And so we bring in MFT, marriage and family therapist interns, and then also pre and post doc interns. So these folks are going to eventually be psychologists. And our goal is to train them, and we have gay, straight, bisexual therapists right now. And our goal is to train them to be able to work competently in our community. I'm on Psychology Today when you're looking up a therapist, and I go through the list of therapists, and most people will say that they're trans competent, LGBT competent, and I know these people, and I mean, they're friendly, they're allies, but they don't know our specific issues. And so our goal is to teach therapists to be super competent and just to be aware of the specific significant issues that we do have. In the clinic specifically geared toward trans folks, we see a lot of transgender clients. Right now, I happen to be working with a 15-year-old whose parents are really struggling. And it's interesting because they are very, very religious. This kid has been in Christian schools their whole career, but the parents really want to understand. They love their child, and so for me, it's a privilege to be able to help them work through this. But we do that. We see kids. We see folks 12 to 90 years old in our clinic.
Literally 90.
Yeah. And we see transgender folks throughout that age range. We see people who have who had transitioned in the 70s, and they're coming, and we see kids who are wanting the hormones right now. So we get the whole range of it. But I think the important thing is that we really, really teach our therapists how to deal and treat this community sensitively, very careful about language, because language is very important to the transgender community, and just to get young therapists on board so, they can, after they leave the center, they can go out in the world and truly be competent.
I know you've been doing a lot of outreach in Eastern Coachella Valley. It's just interesting. Are you talking to a lot of the different schools throughout Coachella Valley? Do they know that it's a resource? Do they know that they can come to you with students?
Well, yeah, that's our other teammate that are down in Coachella Valley, yes, and all
Right
these
now.
flyers and all the outreach that we do go out on everything. And, as we come into season, we do more and more outreach into the community, just at the different venues that Pride is a big one coming up, but there's so many. Even the Agua Caliente has, a workers' fair in both of their locations. So we make sure we're at all of those so that there's a real awareness. And I think we're here today because, too, there's not, sometimes, we're our worst enemies when we just do the work and we don't really make an awareness out there of what the work is that we do. And I think that's specifically why we're here today, because we've been doing the work for a long time and it's increasing all the time. I actually have a line item in my budget for this year, which is a first. So the programs are growing, and so it gives us the opportunity. And I want to thank Ron for the thought of inviting us here to really kind of let you all know that there are what services are available besides the obvious, because we're not always that obvious.
Well, I'd imagine for school children, anyway, that's probably the only program, correct me if I'm wrong, that's available in Coachella Valley. I've not heard of any other programming that's out there for people that are younger.
Well, We are, Alexis and Miguel, they part of their job is they are going into the schools and they are making them aware, but they're also forming their own groups out there.
Good.
With their GSAs and otherwise. They have spaces where the queer kids can come. One of my ultimate goals would be to have a satellite therapy office out there with Spanish-speaking, bilingual therapists. It's my dream, but we'll see.
And I think
Line
when-
item for next year.
Yeah, and I think specifically when we are talking about youth, we really are talking about that awareness that they can get into therapy early and get with the parents early. I'm always so heartened when I'm in that SOFA group because, yes, not everybody that sits in the big therapy group has had that same kind of support from families. So when I see those families there, and our families, let me tell you, they come from Rancho Cucamonga. They come from Beaumont. They come from Hemet, Riverside. In that way, and we ask, how did you find us? It's online. They find us online or by word of mouth or their doctors. So we do get a lot of referrals from their doctors. But getting into therapy and getting those families into therapy so that they can get the information to help them grow and evolve is so important. And that's why we're really proud of the work that we do. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jim Gross. I'm going to put my question to Dr. Pinkston. Do I have to-
Pinkston.
Pinkston. Sorry about that. I've run into, and some of this maybe we should handle offline, but I'll just introduce it here and then you tell me what you think makes sense. I've run into a situation where I'm aware of a trans couple, they both identify as women, who are wanting to get married in prison. And they are alone in trying. The interesting thing is this prison system actually now has accommodations for this.
That's good.
And they actually, one of the women actually had a transition in the CDCR, which is the prison system hospital, which amazed me. But my point, or my issue today, and tell me if you know of any resources that might help, and then you can feed them to me offline or whatever. But we are struggling with some of this prison work with how to connect them with somebody who can just be an advisor to them on a personal level and how they put this together. And of course, obviously referring to the center, So I'm just wondering if you're aware of any resources who've ever touched this, because the first time I run into this.
I've never heard of this.
Okay, well then.
Yeah.
Okay. We're alone together, I guess, in this.
Yeah, but more and more there are more resources out there and people who are willing to, advocates in the trans community who are willing to reach out and help people in these situations. So,
Let us wrap our
yeah,
brain around that one, okay?
yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a bright thought
Yeah.
will come up and
Yeah.
get in touch with me here through the commission. We can-
Okay, sounds great. And I can leave these flyers if you'd like. I didn't.
So I got a couple questions on that. When we talk about the trans population in Palm Springs in particular, is there an idea of what that census looks like?
I wish we knew, but I don't think we do.
I mean, I've maybe 2 years ago, I heard in Riverside County that it was, I want to say 28,000. I mean, it was a number that blew my mind. And that's all
I
of
don't know if
Riverside
Hark has
County.
those numbers.
They
Or
might.
Hark
Yeah.
might have some of better feeling from some of the work that they've done to actually have some kind of clue, but I haven't heard any, so that's even the first time I heard that one. So.
Yeah, and we've used in your presentation, you talk about therapy in a different way. What is therapy? So I'm a 13-year-old coming to the center. What does that mean to me as a 13-year-old?
That means probably, first of all, learning to identify your emotions. And it's really about supporting very often teenagers, even if their family is supportive and close to them, don't feel like that they can talk to them. So it's just a safe place, a space where they can basically talk about anything that they want. We do a lot of education with all of our clients just about the connection between thoughts and emotions and physical responses. So pay attention to your body, which is something kids can learn. Your thinking affects your emotions. Emotions are fleeting, everything changes. I think for young people, that sort of information is really important because, say, for example, a transgender teenager, once they've identified their trans, they very often just want to go and they want to transition right now, and teenagers, they want it right now. And so it is about sort of helping them navigate that waiting time that can be super frustrating, and that's often when they'll become suicidal because they just can't wait anymore. So it's support that way.
Excellent, thank you.
And that's when you're talking about young people, but some of those folks that transition or come out later in life after they've had families, and they're in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, and so that's a whole different kind of therapy.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Any other
Thank you.
questions? Well, thank you
Thank
both
you
for
all.
coming. We appreciate you taking the time to come and share with us today. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
All right, next up, we're going to have a little change in the lineup of the schedule, and we're going to have Commissioner Morgan is going to make a special presentation.
This is a very sad moment, but we have to acknowledge somebody for their service here on our Human Rights Commission. I have to say, working on the commission is a lot of fun because you meet a lot of people you would never, I've known your husband for years, and it's finally nice to meet his wife because I saw him at Vaughn's all the time, but it forces us to reach out to people that we don't normally speak to, people that we don't hang out with. And I met my first Sri Lankan person that I became friendly with. And I learned so much about Sri Lanka. And I think if I can add something to this just very quickly, my own opinion, like I'm not known for my own opinion, I think what really formed this individual is her early years growing up in Sri Lanka. And at a very early age, she was walking home from school. I'm gonna cry saying this. She was walking home from school and she saw all these buildings on fire. And she ran home to her mom. Her mom was there getting all the kids in the house. She didn't know what was going on. She was a young age. And all she remembers is there was fighting, people were dying. And her father was the principal of a high school across town. And he finally got home. They were worried. He came in an ox cart. And he had someone hiding in the ox cart. Well, I don't know if you know a lot about the Civil War in Sri Lanka. It was very much about race. And her father was hiding somebody that could have been killed, someone that could have been murdered. And Jilska had that from a very early age about treating people as people, not treating them because they're a specific race or religion or what have you. And immigrating to this country, a person with a different tongue, not the typical Barbie look, and 26 years later, here in Palm Springs, to see what she's accomplished and how she's helped so many people. Her whole life has been about caring and taking care of other people. Jilska is honored to have served on the Human Rights Commission for the City of Palm Springs from June 25th, 2013 to September 9th, 2019. Jilska has traveled a journey full of rich experiences and achievements and lifetime friendships. Jilska was inspired by Miss Dee Dee Barton, who happened to be the first woman to chair this commission, who created dynamic change to the commission. Due to her leadership and vision, Palm Springs Human Rights Commission reached out across the aisles to represent minorities and disenfranchised community members. Jilska will always be an advocate for disabled populations locally and other parts of the world. Just a list of Jilska's more notable work and achievements in the Human Rights Commission. 2013, created a platform for inviting nonprofits who were actively involved in nonprofit work to introduce their work to the public at the Human Resources Commission monthly meeting. Issues that were advocated: sexual violence in our community, LGBT rights. 2014, immigration reform and education. Addressed the DREAM Act, populations living in the shadows of our community, homeless and poverty. 2015, religious tolerance, Special Olympics World Summer Games, we were a host town. Insight, disability and advocacy, the Harvey Milk Diversity Breakfast. 2016, homelessness, affordable housing, veteran population, LGBTQ community. 2017, poverty, gender inequality, inclusive workplaces for disabled. 2018, human trafficking, senior bill of rights, LGBT community, housing. 2019, senior bill of rights, California voting rights, LGBTQ movie fundraiser. Jilska is an immigrant, and she feels one of the most challenging experiences in one's life is having to leave your birth country and adopt a new country. The human pain and suffering that goes along during this process is a scar that only an immigrant will understand. Integration into your community is very important as an immigrant. Jilska is Sri Lankan by birth, and she has had the privilege of coming to the United States to further her education. Jilska's first memories of community service started when she was a Girl Scout. Jilska's mother was a leader. She wanted Jilska to speak at an event for Habitat for Humanity. During that time in the world, Jilska read the newspaper about great people like President Jimmy Carter, Martin Luther King Jr., and thus began her journey as a community advocate. Jilska took many social programs in her community. Some of Jilska's pet projects, post-war reconciliation, and advocacy for the visually impaired population. So I think all of us can appreciate someone serving 6 years on the commission. I think it's an amazing achievement. But Jilska leaving today doesn't mean that she's going to stop. Just having private conversations with her, she's always talking about those people in need and how we can help them. So on the behalf of the Human Rights Commission, I would personally like to say thank you for your 6 years of dedication to our city and our community.
Thank you.
Can you take pictures? You got it. Thank you. Look at this. How nice that is. Let me get. I'm going to take some pictures. Ron?
She's got your picture. I just wanted to get her picture.
You're right on top of your purse.
Okay, over here. One more. Okay, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
This is wonderful.
Jilska, do you have a few words?
I have been privileged to be among all of you, and actually living in the city of Palm Springs, I don't think I can live anywhere else. So I think to all my co-commissioners, keep the good work going. We need more of our human rights in this town and in this world, and keep moving forward. I'm always there to lend a hand. Thank you.
Beautiful. Okay, next up, and thank you, Commissioner Morgan, for making that presentation. We've got commissioner staff comments. Start over here with Commissioner Flood.
I have nothing this time.
Coming right around the table.
I just came back from vacation, so we went to Paso Robles for wine tasting, but then we went off to a small film festival in Nevada City, California. And lo and behold, I find in my Airbnb this little paper, and it says Healthy Air Nevada City. And on the back are all the rules about where you can and can't smoke in Nevada City, which is pretty much nowhere. So I'll pass it around so everyone could just read, but it even has a little map of, these are smoke-free. It's a small town, like 3,500 people. But per our past guests who have come and spoken to us and are working hard about having Palm Springs be smoke-free to a certain extent, I thought this was interesting to see a city that's already doing it.
Excellent. Commissioner Morgan?
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Andrade?
I don't know if this is the appropriate place to do this, but I would like to withdraw my name from the candidates list for later on for the elections.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Commissioner Gross?
Yeah. One kind of announcement, comment or announcement, whatever. Tomorrow evening, 5:30, if I have this right. Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, or Ron, if you know this as well. Councilmember Coors and I think it's JR, who are
Councilmember Holstage.
hostage on the cannabis ordinance.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about they're doing business retention.
Yeah,
all
and
that.
it's at the same time, yeah, the
Okay.
business retention meetings at the same time
Yeah,
at the
okay.
convention center, but here in council chambers, planning commission.
You're correct then.
Okay, thank you.
I want to know about that. When is the meeting?
Yeah,
About
yeah.
the cannabis?
Yeah, now that I'm set straight, here we go. I'll start again and I'll make it clear. Okay, tomorrow, 5:30, here in council chambers. Councilmember Coors, Planning Commission is holding both a study session and then also we'll have a regular meeting related to cannabis ordinance. And so it's a very important input process, but also a very important development in this area for those of us who have found out just how much we are affected. I'm one of those.
Me too.
Yeah, we have houses within 700 feet of a proposed multi-tenant cannabis facility. We only found out about that by accident. And we have made some very strong pushback. And the good news is that, yes, Planning Commission is taking this very seriously and is having the study session tomorrow. And Jeff has signaled his intent as a council member to have the current cannabis ordinance reviewed by council. So this is, number one, it's good news, but it's also a very important opportunity for those of us who feel that there is an oversaturation and that there are rights, there really are, because we are hearing from a number of people in our neighborhood that are close to that facility. Or they have been in neighborhoods where they have smelled it, they've been further away, and they realize we're probably going to be getting close. In any case, there's a lot of detail, and I could get my tongue tied by all the detail, but it's important, I think, for us to get our fundamental issues expressed clearly tomorrow night. And density is certainly one, and the second one, at least in my book, I'll be offering comments to this regard tomorrow night. The second one is to really have the city, through whatever mechanism, have a proven effective odor control process that can be specified for these facilities. Because theoretically, odor control is in place at some of the existing places, but if you speak to folks in Demuth Park or up in Desert Highlands, you're going to find out that a number of them simply say, sorry, no, it's there. So I think it's important, and I do think it is a human rights issue. I think, quite frankly, well, it's not unlike what we just, in your report, Nikki, on the smoking, is to be able to, particularly at home, but even everywhere, to not have the odor associated with some types of this industry. And one of the things I've learned is there are some types of industry that emit no odor and all of that. But all the same, I think that's a very important point, and I think we need to reinforce the direction this is going with Jeff and council. That's my comment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is, no comment at this time.
So I've got a couple. I was contacted by a middle school student who's in their last year of middle school who is wanting to be a part of the commission. In the past, we have taken middle school applicants. This kiddo doesn't attend Raymond Cree, but it's another Palm Springs local middle school, and she's contacted me multiple times, so I told her that I would bring it here to just check if we could accept an application from her and put her through the application process, or does she hold off until she's in high school?
How old are you in the last year of middle school?
We have had middle school kiddos. You're 14.
I think our program is set up for a middle school and a high school. isn't
Right.
it?
So yes.
So
So
they
she
just-
doesn't attend Raymond Cree. She attends one of the other ones.
And we
She's
left- we
told
left
me
that
a
open.
1,000 times, and I keep forgetting.
So we didn't restrict it to a specific location.
So if I can get get an electronic application
They
or
just go online
something,
to the city's website.
then I'll
and it's
get
a
her to
self-nominating
go ahead and do
process.
that. All
So they
right?
just go online, go to the
She's called me multiple times.
Human Rights Commission's website, and through the Human Rights Commission
I'm
website,
like, don't go away.
they can click and submit all the information.
I will call her tonight.
Yeah, that's excellent. Good deal.
Then I was.
And before we leave, I think this is one brief comment. Number one, I'm totally in favor of this, so that's great.
Yeah.
But I'm also hoping that as she comes on, it's a she, is that correct? Yeah, as she comes on, assuming she's puts in her application.
Right.
And blah, blah, blah. I'm hoping if we won't get to it this meeting, maybe it's an agenda item for October, but look at having a resource, maybe it's one or two of us council members, whatever, to provide the appropriate orientation and to give her the support she needs to start and be
Absolutely,
effective.
and I think that during our retreat and planning, that's a big topic for us this year, and so we'll be talking about that then too.
Yeah.
So, and then I was contacted about an anti-human trafficking walk that's happening on October 19th from JPL Church to Eisenhower Medical Center, and was given posters that come from the sheriff's department. So I thought that I would bring these and pass them around, and then we can decide. I can probably get more of these too, but I'll pass them. I'll give one to Jay, and then I'll pass the others that way. And that's what I have so far.
Excellent. Well, good. Congratulations on that student. Let's reel her in. Don't let her get away.
That's why I've been holding her at bay. I'm like, I gotta, yeah, okay.
So this past Saturday, the Safe Schools of the Desert Cities had a luncheon for teachers, Gay Straight Alliance advisors and teachers at Sunnylands on Saturday. And we had nearly 50 teachers attend and participate in that. And it's just great to see the commitment that these teachers have for their LGBTQI plus students, and the commitment that they have for these youth is just incredible. So that was nice to see, and hats off to all of them for participating in that event at Sunnylands. And the other meeting or event of note I just wanted to mention was the Community Leadership Council, which is going in its second year here in Palm Springs and has about 45 member organizations, primarily LGBT related, but LGBT and allied related organizations, nonprofit organizations. Had a all boards meeting a few weeks ago, and there was nearly 100 people representing those 40 organizations coming together in an opportunity to create a unified voice within the nonprofit community in town, and to share best practices with one another. So it's great to see that happening here in the city, and seeing our nonprofit groups come together like that. And that's it for me. Jay?
No comments, thank you.
All right, sweet. Jay's sitting in for Dale, who's out ill. So we send him our best wishes, Dale, if you're watching. Lots of healing energy to get better quick. I'm sure. Okay, we go into item 7. Our committee reports. So first up with the executive committee report, we did have an executive committee meeting So we've gotten that ball rolling with the the vice chair and the chair, and Jim has been the representative, and we did meet and had some really good discussion, and that led to the idea of having the study session after today's meeting, so we can really share detail and get into, what our purpose is at the commission. The executive committee, remember, I'll remind you all, the appointed at-large board member, our commissioner, serves quarterly terms. So we would be going into starting, Jim was appointed in June, right? July, August, September, July.
Yeah, I suppose that's how you're counting it. I think technically, the action was taken in June, and then I think it was to start July, but whatever.
July, August, September.
Yeah.
So next month, we will have a new person cycle in. So if you're interested to be the next commissioner cycling in for the next quarter, just be prepared to share express your interest so we can appoint you for that, for the next quarter. Any other comments on the executive committee meeting?
I think that there was a lot of discussion that will take further ways to just improve our ability to support the council, but to also get our work going and to keep it going. So a lot of ideas to talk about as a team.
Sure. Commissioner Gross, did you have anything?
Well, the only thing I was going to add, but I think we have it later on the agenda, is the other thing we discussed was enriching and putting together a positive retreat, and a meaningful retreat. And so I see that's here on the agenda anyway, so we'll be getting there. But that is another item that I'm glad we kicked off at the executive committee.
Yep, beautiful. Okay, next up we have the Community Development Mediation Committee, and as a reminder, this encompasses our outreach to Desert Highlands Gateway Estates, Community Association, the Homelessness Task Force, affordable housing, and mediation.
Can I interrupt?
Yes.
Okay, Jessica's going to go on her way. Yeah. So that she
I'm
can
sorry.
start her class.
4:15, yes. Thank you.
We're gonna miss you.
Don't forget slide out your nameplate. You get a little.
Hanging up in the kitchen on the refrigerator. Bye.
Okay, so Community Development Mediation Subcommittee, any reports from Desert Highland Gateway Association, Homelessness Task Force, affordable housing, or mediation?
Actually, it's not a report, but it's a question, and I'll put it to Jay. Jay, and actually, Terry, you and I had discussed getting together with Suzanne Severin and discussing particularly the mediation component. I have reached out to Suzanne twice via her city email and have not heard from her. And I know Suzanne very well, and that's certainly not like her. So I'm wondering, is she still on city staff? Is everything okay? And
I believe she's moved on from city staff.
that's
so-
what I was beginning to wonder, yeah, because from that. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll have to talk and maybe reset.
Something else.
Yeah, and see,
Another resource.
yeah, there are actually plenty of good resources. Suzanne, of course, is definitely a star in this area and has been available to us in the past. But Terry, you and I can maybe have an offline conversation and see what our thoughts come with it. Somebody who can work with us on that.
Okay, excellent. Next up is the Community Relations/Budget, and this encompasses finance. And all heads are looking at Commissioner Randall.
Admit now. Well, first of all, I need another commissioner to join me on the finance committee, so it's not just all on my plate. And per my conversation with you, Ron, I realize now that whoever this other person is and we have to choose what should we use our excess budget for, because we've already discussed the ongoing things, and that will cover, but we have a little extra money in the bank. So I need to wait, sorry, another delay, till someone else joins me and we can have a dialogue about that. But then we will come back to this meeting with specific things of, let's order 1,000 wristbands for the parades, let's do this, let's do that. So, sorry.
And are we talking about our committees later today? Okay.
So, and hopefully by February, we'll have even more money. Shall I go on to the community relations part?
Sure.
Is this where I should talk about the legacy fundraiser and the progress?
I think it would fall under here, yeah.
Okay, all right. So I just made a couple copies, but I'll pass this along. But I just wanted to give everyone an update on where we're at. In terms of the fundraiser, the film fundraiser for next year, for 2020. So Terry and I are the ones who are currently the commissioners on the subcommittee. And then what I found last year when, we had 4 commissioners on the subcommittee, but it was a lot of work for just a couple people. So I've reached out to people in the community and said, hey, would you just work with us on this project? You'll just have one little thing to do and organizing it. So in September, we'll have a meeting and everyone will be there. And I've listed the citizen volunteers on here, like Todd Cromwell, who happens to be my neighbor. He'll work on ticket sales. Steve Reed, who's a Palm Springs middle school teacher, and he has a hobby of going to drum competitions. So we're working on an idea of a drum line for free entertainment in the parking lot prior to the event, and then they'll march through and up onto the stage. I can't make this up, folks. Donald Morgan, who is also another friend of mine, and he is helping me with the community liaison. And he's reporting back to me so we can get a clear picture from multiple people in the Desert Highlands Estates community, what they feel the human rights issues are. And then hopefully David and Ryan will continue to help me. They were on the committee last year, and Jilska, I just roped her in on her way out the door. So the subcommittee is chosen to work with the Desert Highlands Gateway Estates community. And if it's permissible, and I don't know, Jay, I don't want to put this on you in Dale's absence, but it's, I think it's appropriate for the designated recipient of any funds we raise to be the James O. Jesse Desert Highland Unity Center, which is a city entity. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right.
It's a city entity.
So would that be permissible to focus in that direction?
It would be, if that's the decision you want to make.
Yes, that's what our
Okay.
subcommittee is thinking of.
So if the HRC donates the funds, it's not going to go towards, caulking the tile or anything. It's going to go for a special project. Are we able to, I know we've done line items before where money that's donated to the Human Rights Commission can go towards special project that's not used towards like a general
Right.
fund. So that's the same for,
That would be the same, yes.
Okay. So to date, we've had one meeting with a prominent resident of that community, and we have copious notes, Donald and I, from that meeting. And the 2 issues so far, and we're going to have additional meetings. We're going to meet with church leaders. We're going to meet with the board of directors for the community center and so on. We're going to try to, without overdoing it, reach out to as many people as possible and get input. But from what we've done so far, it's reported in this person's opinion that there's over-policing in the neighborhood. And then also, it's interesting, you're bringing up the cannabis. They feel like all these cannabis growing facilities are being put in their neighborhood. I don't know, I need to do research, and I was gonna come early and go to the planning commission. Is that where I would find out how many growing facilities have been approved for their neighborhood?
We have a special projects office. Veronica Goodhart manages the applications for cannabis facilities. She may have a map. In fact, there may be a map on the webpage for special projects in Palm Springs. So,
What's your last name again?
Goodhart,
Goodhart.
Goodhart.
So we're going to continue our interviews, and we'll continue to make a list of potential topics. And then once that happens, I've got the commitment of somebody who does community outreach with the Palm Springs International Film Festival to help me seek out an appropriate film that'll go along with this. So I'm making everybody in town work. Ryan Micchio has already reached out to the Camelot Theater, which is now the Palm Springs Cultural Center, for a date during Black History Month in 2020, which will be in February, so as soon as we get that date. So that puts our timeline together of how quickly we want to get all this other stuff done and in place. Again, we don't think we want to raise the ticket prices. It was $10 for the movie theater. We did not sell it out last year, but if we did, that's $10 a ticket, 500 seats, that's $5,000. And then we had a very successful VIP meet and greet upstairs for $25 a ticket, and that's max. Fire department is $75. So yeah, if we were able to sell out the event, we'd raise a total of $68.75. And at some point, I want to have a further discussion with people about what should we do with that money. Should we split it 50-50 like we did with the LGBT Center? Should we give it all there? You know, so that's a conversation. We have to earn it first before we spend it, right? So that's my update on that project.
Excellent, and excellent leadership on bringing the community to the table, and great example for the rest of our committees to be able to see how to, bring the workload from the community to the table. So that's excellent.
Once you told me what I was supposed to do, Ron, I did it.
And excellent job. I just have one question as a follow-up. Have we asked the Black History Fair Committee how they feel about a film event in Black History Month?
We have not.
So
I need to do
I
that.
definitely reach out to the committee, is my suggestion, because we don't want to give the impression that we're stepping on the community's toes. And they already do a lot.
Right.
During the month. So maybe this could be something that is part of their programming, and it can be in their schedule of activities. But a lot of good people that work on that committee.
Okay.
So, and the other thing is, I think his name is Jarvis, who's the director.
Yes, yes.
So Jarvis Crawford, if we ask him, he'll have probably a list of 20 projects that he's looking for funds for.
Yeah.
From
newsletter.
basketballs to,
This fellow, he just resigned as the retired from that, but he's still around. So
Yeah.
I definitely was going to reach out to him.
Yeah, so they're and they were one of the people requesting funding from the CDBG grants, which we sit on the committee to help administer those funds. And I know there's a lot of need, in the center. So I would suspect that the commission could work with them and say, we would like to raise this funds to go toward this programming. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, next up, we have the Youth Education Affairs Committee, and I think we jumped the gun a little bit with our surprise announcement, which was very welcomed.
so excited I couldn't keep it to myself.
So is there anything else you need to cover on that for student representative?
I just have to call her tonight.
Okay, sweet. All right, next is the Cultural Affairs Committee, which includes a lot of stuff. The master calendar, community outreach and marketing, community service awards, and our monthly meetings with Main Street, 1PS, and the Palm Springs Police Department LGBT Outreach Committee. So master calendar, any updates, Commissioner Andrade?
No, but I'm going to need another member to join me on that. So when are we getting our new people seated?
They probably didn't get sworn in time to be here today, so I would
next
suspect
meeting?
that they'll be at the next meeting
Okay,
for sure.
Okay, thank you.
So we're not going to have the orientation session after today?
Uh,
Because we're not going to, I thought we were going to have.
We can talk, we can debate that if that's something we want to wait for.
Well,
So when the committee had talked.
It's just, we like skipping around our agenda.
Right.
Sometimes.
We had
And that
talked.
is later on in the agenda, so.
Talked about the possibility too that we could have to get together a little bit today and then a little bit again.
okay, that's fine.
And I think that there's a lot of vacant positions that maybe we should maybe still keep our plans for today for a little bit.
Yeah. So nothing else on master calendar. I know there's, you've got a couple events coming up, the Veterans Day Parade, which we probably should get commitments from people, which is November 11th, and the Palm Springs Pride Parade, which is November 3, are going to be here before we know it. And Commissioner Morgan had an incredible idea last year on having a presence in the parade. I hope we're going to be able to bring that to fruition this year. So we definitely have to keep that on the radar, or else it just will, slide by.
Absolutely.
And, Nikki will be riding in the convertible by herself, covered with the banner. Okay, anything on community outreach and marketing? We'll skip right down to Main Street, Palm Springs. The big thing at this month's meeting was the Main Street group hosted a community forum for candidate forum. So the candidates, with the exception of 2 who were ill or couldn't be there, had hosted a forum for the downtown business community, and it was really great to see, this slate of candidates being able to address, in one room, a really well-packed group. 70 or 80 people attended, so that was nice. That was the big topic of that meeting. The other thing with I'll do the Palm Springs Police Department. We had an active killer training session that occurred just Thursday last week, and just about 100 representatives from the community participated in that, and 80 of those people were people from our nonprofit organizations, leadership and individuals from those nonprofit groups, and the other 20 or so were from businesses from downtown. The police department did a very, very good job on presenting this active shooter seminar, which it's not called a shooter anymore since there's a lot of ways to kill, but the active killer seminar. So hats off to the police department for doing such a great job on that presentation and trying to help educate the community. And the more we know in the community, the better off we are as individuals and the better off our city is. If something horrific happens in our town. So 1 PS, Mr. Gross.
1 PS? No, there really isn't anything. I'm sorry. Aside from just reminding you that 1 PS meets the second Thursday of the month, which means this Thursday at 8 a.m. over in the city lunchroom off the city yard. But aside from reminding you of that meeting, and much like 1 Main Street, Main Street. It's very, very informative. We get very full reports from City Manager Dave Reddy. And Lisa Middleton is the council rep there. She generally gives a full report. And we also hear from other council as well as other folks. So if you're interested, that's great. As far as issues relevant on the agenda over there connecting with us, at the moment, there really is not anything. Outside of what I've already reported, I think a couple of months ago, there is an active joint effort between Pride and 1PS in terms of identifying some neighborhoods who we think, in fact, I'm thinking about it for my own neighborhood, and I'm struggling with this. We've had some celebrities in our neighborhood, but I'm not sure of their sexuality, whatever. But it's an interesting challenge in identifying kind of folks who have lived and been part of the neighborhoods who have also been engaged with the LGBT community, kind of making that cross connection. So that's probably the one connection point. But I mentioned that, I think, a couple of months ago. So.
Yeah, excellent. And Mr. Flood, I think or Commissioner Flood, I think you're the representative on senior veterans and persons with disabilities, specifically the veterans.
I guess so. I remember talking about the veterans, but I don't think
veterans, yeah.
Okay. I have nothing to report on there.
Okay. All right, excellent. So that takes care of our committee reports. Next up is retreat. Vice Chair, would you like to cover that topic?
Retreat, sure. So there's a retreat today, right?
A study
we're
session
gonna
is scheduled for this
spend
afternoon.
a little bit, right, so that we can come up with our plans and it's kind of hard to discuss it until we're all together and we can share our thoughts. But there are a lot of ideas and thoughts and positions that have to be filled. So when we come together later to plan, we can talk about too if we're going to come together again.
Yeah.
For a retreat, part 2.
And I think part of the conversation that we had at the executive meeting was to schedule a retreat this year at some point. Don't rush into it, but give ourselves time, maybe in January, get a group together to really start planning. What does that retreat look like? What does the commission want our retreat to look like? Are we talking about a half a day thing on a Saturday? What is that? And what is the objective of that retreat typically has been to come up with our goals for the year and to have goals that everybody wants to embrace and support and that we're all on the same page as to what our orders are for that following year.
And it has been a planning and a training, and we're looking at mentors too, so that people feel like they understand what they're supposed to be participating in, and then.
You're taking all my agenda items for the study session.
Sorry, I kind of melded them into one thing.
So, Jim, that was my understanding in retreat is that the idea the seed is planted. Look for something in probably January timeframe, but we need maybe a couple people to work on the planning committee of that retreat and put together content.
That was the only thing I was going to add to what I had already reported, was that we haven't absolutely tied it down, but targeted kind of January is the potential window for having this. So I'm glad to see the progress that has been made there. That's been a big thing for me, so I'm glad for us on that.
Excellent. Okay, next up on the agenda is the hate speech resolution that is before us. It was sent out in our packet, so we all had an opportunity to review it. And with Eileen's update on some of the verbiage, if you were following it in your packet, you saw that there were a few words that have been changed from what we received and were able to review. The plan or the request to us would be that the Human Rights Commission takes a vote to endorse and support this resolution with a motion to move it to City Council with our full support of the council's and urging of the council's adoption. So any discussion on the resolution itself?
Well, I'll move it so we can get a second, then have the discussion. Is
Okay.
that how it flows? Is that right?
We're so,
Well, okay,
we're
fine.
so free-flowing here, it goes every other way.
Okay, well, I'm perfect, I'm very much in support. If I'm glad to make a motion, and with a second, then we can have our discussion. There we go.
Second that.
Okay, does everybody accept the motion to move the resolution forward? Any discussion on the resolution? Mr. Gross?
No, the only reason I even mentioned it was just that, so we do it according to Robert's rules. But as far as the resolution itself goes, no, this is a no-brainer for me anyway. I'm 100,000% behind it.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor of adopting the resolution with endorsement to City Council and encouragement to adopt at the City Council level, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No opposition, no abstentions. All right, beautiful. We will pass this on to City Council with the Commission's full support and encouragement to adopt at City Council. And next up is item D, the chair and vice chair selection. And since I'm one of the candidates and the vice chair is one of the candidates, we've asked Jade if he will carry this portion of the meeting forward.
I believe this can work very easily, given some of the earlier announcements today. Shall we proceed with vice chair?
Just one question. Has everybody seen an email, Jay, that you
Thank you,
sent
Jim.
on my behalf?
Let's ask them if they've seen that.
Everybody see that?
Right.
I've not seen it.
Oh,
Okay.
Well, in a nutshell, I have withdrawn, it's in the packet, but I have withdrawn my name from the candidacy, and I'll just underscore, it's not for lack of interest, it's due to, and it's in here, so I won't go into detail, but due to some health issues I'm going to need to deal with. And also secondly is a sudden development in my prison program where the demand on my time is going to become much higher. And if you want to know more about that, I'll tell you. But I mean, the impact on people in that program is huge, and my lack of availability there would be felt significantly. So for those reasons, and not through any real lack of interest, quite frankly, but we'll be talking further, I know, in term, particularly when we get to our retreat process, when we get into there and really talk about some of the things that are on my mind about what can make a positive difference here with the commission. So there we go.
Thank you, Commissioner Gross. The current slate we have for vice chair is Denise Chappelle, is my understanding. Is there anyone else who desires to be on that? Oh, there we have it. If you'd all like to just take a vote on that, letting us know if that's, you'd be approving
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Chappelle? Very good, there we go. We have a vice chair. And I can now hand over the last portion of this to the vice chair.
See how tricky you are?
Okay, and then there is only one application for chair, and that is Ron, and his resume is included here, here as well. Do we take a vote, since we have one applicant? Shall we vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations,
Yes.
Chair.
Okay, so we're done. We're back to me now. Thank you all. Topical newsworthy items. I know we've covered a few things as we've gone around. Let's just go around the table once again. Mr. Commissioner Flood.
Maybe I should have brought this up earlier. Last evening, Sunday evening, I attended Camelot. The people who run the library had a film there called The Public. And it was about library rights and issues and so forth, but it mainly dealt with the homelessness. And it had some pretty good stars in there. It was produced by Emilio Estevez, Alec Baldwin was in it. I think Kristen Slater. But anyway, it was a good movie. I thought that, and Jeb Coors was there. It was a panel about homelessness, people provide services, Kind Food Bank. A representative was there, member of the police department. And after the movie, which was about 2 hours, they had a question and answer session. And I thought it was pretty well done. And that's all I have to say.
Excellent. Were you wearing your commissioner badge?
I did not have the badge. So are we going to get badges?
Yeah, we
Add
have the
that to the
budget right
list.
here.
Oh, good.
We have the budget.
I'm not going to say we don't need no sneaking badges, okay?
All right, very good. Any other topical newsworthy items coming around the table? Commissioner Morgan? Mr. Gross? And I don't have anything, Jay? Okay, we're moving right along. Any agenda items for our next meeting that we need to bring forward? We're going to cover or actually, why don't I just ask? Jim had mentioned maybe we don't have our study session today and we wait until the other two commissioners are seated. Is there any feeling one way or another that we wait till next month to do it versus today?
I mean, it makes sense for everybody to be here, so we don't have to repeat ourselves, I think.
I see 3 or 4 nods.
Yeah.
Are we in a full agreement?
I have a question. Since I'm the newest person on the commission, is this about like things we do the whole as a whole? Would we get involved in?
So the goal today was, or the objective for today's study session was to review the rules and procedures of the commission. And actually, why don't we just, we should pass them out since we have them anyhow. And then everybody can, if you haven't been able to, if you haven't been able to review them in depth, and this is the guidebook on what we're supposed to be doing, and our job is really straightforward, and it's very well defined. So I think we may have felt like we got off our guided way this year. But our purpose and mission is very well defined. We've had a lot of people that are before us and whose wonderful shoulders that we stand. So the idea was to review what the rules and procedures are of the Human Rights Commission, what our purpose is all about, and then to talk about setting up a specific mentoring program within the commission so new commissioners come on can formally be partnered with another commissioner so that there are questions are answered, and if there's the unknowns, that there's at least somebody else that formally is paired with the new commissioner that comes on. And the other item that we had was to review the new committee placements, new members on committees. So those were the 3 core items that we were going to address today. And if the idea is to wait until we get these other 2 commissioners seated who were interviewed.
2 weeks ago. The only part that I was kind of thinking, and anybody just chime in, but because there is still work or discussion from this past year before we bring in anybody else that could help us actually plan for when we all get together. I just was thinking it might be good for us just to meet for just a little bit so that we have an idea how best to go about then that piece.
That's a good point.
That's the only thing that I was
I
thinking,
agree
and
with
it
that.
wouldn't take us long.
I just want to say, this was in my welcome aboard packet that Dell sent to me, along with a whole bunch of other things. So I did read this, but it would be nice, like you say, to get it all together and just, work
To
it
walk
out.
through it.
Yeah, right. That's my only point.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we will stay around for a few minutes and have a short discussion after our...
Only if everybody else thinks that that's a good idea. Doesn't only have to be me.
Yeah, we're...
You're going to walk,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so no agenda items at this moment to be added for next month. At the conclusion of this meeting, there's going to be a small session, commission orientation with the purpose to review commission's purpose and rules and guidelines, which has been modified just a tad. So the commission will adjourn to a regular meeting Monday, October 14, 2019, at 3 p.m. in the large conference room.
Ron, just one thing I guess this kind of Hall's announcement, maybe kind of a question. I noticed we did not have minutes today to approve from our last meeting. And so I'm interested what the status is of getting those. I was, quite frankly, hoping to use them as some reference for some things today. And
We are a bit behind with staff outages, but we will try to have everything caught up by the next meeting.
okay, thank you, Jay.
All right, we previously adjourned the meeting at 4:20, and it's still 4:20, so thank you all.